Every American remembers exactly where history changed, not because they were alive when it happened, but because the moment itself was powerful enough to be inherited. November 22nd, 1963 is not just a date. It is a national memory, a moment when time slowed down, when confidence fractured, and when an entire country realized that even the most powerful office on earth is vulnerable. We are told this story so often that it feels settled, finished, archived. A lone gunman, a closed Ghazi, an uncomfortable tragedy with a neat conclusion. But there is a reason this moment refuses to stay buried, because beneath the official explanation lies a single question, so obvious, so unavoidable, that once you ask it, the story can never sound complete again. John F. Kennedy was not just a president, he was a symbol of a new American era, youthful, articulate, confident, and standing at the center of Cold War tension, nuclear threats, and rapid social change. His presidency represented momentum, and momentum creates enemies. Political enemies, institutional enemies, ideological enemies. On the day he was assassinated in Dallas, the world watched in shock as certainty collapsed in real time. Within hours, the explanation began forming. Within days, the narrative solidified. And within months, the public was told the case was closed. Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. That sentence became one of the most repeated conclusions in American history. According to the Warren Commission, Oswald fired 3 shots from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. 1 bullet missed. 1 bullet struck President Kennedy from behind, exited his throat, entered Governor Connally, shattered a rib, exited his chest, broke his wrist, and lodged in his thigh. Another bullet delivered the fatal head. The explanation was detailed, formal, and delivered with authority. Diagrams were drawn, timelines were published, and Americans were encouraged to move forward. But moving forward doesn't erase doubt, it buries it. Here is where the story begins to fracture. If the official explanation is correct, why did witnesses report shots from multiple directions? Why did trained medical professionals describe entry wounds that contradicted ballistic tradition? Why did the Zapruder film show reactions inconsistent with a shot from behind? And most importantly, why did the explanation require a bullet to behave in ways that defy basic physics? The so-called single bullet theory became the backbone of the case. Without it, the timeline collapses. The rifle's firing speed becomes insufficient. The angles stop aligning. The narrative falls apart. And this is the problem when one theory must carry the weight of an entire explanation. Its failure doesn't create confusion, it creates exposure. Perhaps the most unsettling part of the JFK assassination is not what was said, but how quickly it was said. The investigation moved at an unprecedented speed for a crime of such magnitude. Key witnesses died unexpectedly. Evidence was mishandled. Critical materials were sealed for decades. And instead of transparency, Americans were asked for trust. Trust that every contradiction had an explanation. Trust that every inconsistency was coincidence. Trust that closure mattered more than clarity. But Americans are not built on blind trust. They are built on accountability. As years passed, confidence did not increase. It eroded. Poll after poll showed that a majority of Americans rejected the official conclusion. Journalists re-examined the evidence. Scientists recreated the ballistics. Filmmakers analyzed the footage frame by frame, and each generation reached the same uncomfortable realization. The official story survives, not because it is unbreakable, but because replacing it would force institutions to admit uncertainty at the highest level, and uncertainty, especially in moments of national trauma, is dangerous. The assassination of JFK was not just the death of a man, it was the birth of American skepticism, a turning point where citizens learned that official does not always mean complete, that classified does not always mean justified, and that truth can exist in fragments, scattered across testimonies, documents, and unanswered questions. When explanations demand silence instead of scrutiny, something is wrong. And when a single question has been capable of haunting a nation for over 60 years, the issue is no longer conspiracy. It is credibility. The question was never, who fired the gun? The real question is why the explanation has never earned peace, why generation after generation continues to reopen the same file, why this story refuses to fade. Because deep down, Americans recognize something instinctively. Truth doesn't need protection. It doesn't need classification. And it certainly doesn't need to rush past its own contradictions. History remembers JFK as a symbol of promise, but his death became a symbol of something else entirely. The moment Americans learned that asking questions is not dangerous, accepting weak answers is. So, what's your opinion on this story? Leave your answer in the comments. See you in the next video.